This is something I was always intrigued with as somebody who has been on social media for as long as I can remember, both professionally and personally. For a lot of time, enjoyed social media, but I was always intrigued by these folks that could just go on and quit for any amount of time. So it was always in the back of my mind. And I thought, could I do it? Could I quit social media? So I did. And in fact, I actually stayed off it for 6 months. So I just kind of want to share my experience with that and what ended up happening when I got back on 6 months later. By the way, my name is Kevin Colby, and I am so tickled that you're here. And this video isn't to try and convince you to quit social media. I mean, you may not even be on social media. And by the way, just for the record, I don't consider YouTube social media. I have a friend of mine that we debate this. He thinks it is. I don't think it is. I do think YouTube has added some features to kind of make it feel that way. The closest I think I can think on my channel is or the community post. They're not called community; they're called post now anyway. But to me, YouTube isn't social media. So before I get into the whole quitting thing, let me just roll back a little and share over time the social media platforms I've been on that I've had an account on. Now, no two, I've been the same amount of active, if that makes sense. So over time, MySpace, Tumblr, actually, MySpace came back. I think I was on it both times. Google Plus, Pinterest, Threads, Snapchat, Vine, Periscope, Beam. If you've never heard of Beam, Beam was Casey Neistat's app that I think had a lot of promise. He ended up selling it to CNN. Clubhouse, Reddit, Be Real, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Full disclosure, when I was a creative director in television, one of the things that my department was charged with is we promoted the station. We were kind of like the internal advertising agency, if you will. So anytime a new social media platform popped up, I would start an account for our station just in case. We were even on what was it, Foursquare, something like that, just in case it broke out, then we would have the station protected that way. Sometimes I would go, this one looks kind of cool, and I would grab a personal account. So I did that. But then over time, I started doing it just because I enjoyed it or wanted to play with it or wanted to try it out. And also because I had drank the Kool-Aid that so many people taught that you've got to be everywhere, that everybody is, and you've got to post everywhere, and you got to do all this because, well, that's what you do. Okay, yeah. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you go. I think it's that way lies madness, isn't that the phrase? And I also think there's people that preach that have teams that they kind of forget to bring that up. For example, not throwing shade on Gary Vee, don't know Gary Vee. Not a Gary Vee fan. He has said some things throughout time that I've liked. I personally, I personally don't care for his mouth. And from a just a human to a human, from what I understand, he is just on all the time. I just wonder about his health and his family life. But anyway, Gary will preach. Be everywhere all the time. You got to be uploading every place all the time. Blah blah blah. But what Gary doesn't share is that from what what I understand in doing some reading and research and blog posts and everything, Gary has a team of 21 people. 21 people who do nothing more than work on his personal brand. Now you could argue it's also an extension of his business brand. 21 people. Now, do I believe that Gary Vee posts his own stuff from time to time? Sure. That he replies to comments? Sure. But when you got a team of 21 people following you around all the time, it's not hard to be everywhere, even if you don't need to be. So, that's the thing. Now, the irony is, of all the platforms I mentioned, I've been on Facebook the longest. I did start YouTube, again, not social media platform as far as I'm concerned. I started that in YouTube on 2017. But according to my wife, who looked it up for me, bless her heart, I started Facebook in 2007. So I've been on Facebook for a long time, and honestly, enjoyed it. I mean, some of these platforms I've enjoyed, some I didn't enjoy at all. We'll kind of get to that. And I remember when we have three kids. I remember when our oldest was young, and eventually, we let our son and daughter, oldest son, get on social media, but they had to be in their teens, and even we made them wait for a while for a phone. And I remember telling my wife, "Okay, our oldest is on social media. You need to get on Instagram." And she was like, she didn't want to get on Instagram at all. And I was like, just get on. You don't have to do anything. I don't even think she's ever posted anything. So that was the thing. In fact, that was I just now remembered that was our rule with the kids, is that if you created a social account, say Facebook, you had to friend us and you could never block us. And in fact, I think I said when I think we created it for them and then gave them the password. That's how we parented. So I'd been on the social medias for a long time. As I was growing my channel, keep in mind, I started my YouTube channel in 2017. It was in like 2024 when I refocused to talk to folks over 40, and that's when just everything just exploded. But over time, I did the things you're supposed to. I promoted my YouTube videos everywhere because that's what you do. That's what you were told to do. I would do a video and I would share it on Facebook. I'd share it on my Facebook profile, my Facebook page, which was really more tied to my business. I would share it on Twitter. I would share it on Instagram, link in description, link in bio. I would share it on Pinterest. I would share it on LinkedIn. Did I mention LinkedIn? Twitter, everywhere, everywhere. And the engagement I got from that was like nil. You know why? I haven't yet met the person that goes, the reason I'm on Instagram is so I can go watch people's YouTube videos. They're on Instagram to be on Instagram. None of these social media platforms exist to support YouTube, period. They just don't. That's why when you post your YouTube videos, kind of a different rant here. That's why when you post your YouTube videos on the social media platforms, don't be surprised if they don't do well. The last thing they want is you driving off there. But I did it because that's what you did. You did that because, that's what you were supposed to do. And just over time, I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm just not even getting that much engagement. Why am I doing that? So over time, I stopped posting any of my YouTube stuff to any of the social media platforms. I would talk about my YouTube journey, which I think is completely different. So in August of 2024, when I refocused my channel, unbeknownst to me how it would completely change my life and my channel and just the way my channel grew, I had long since stopped posting to social media, sharing my videos to social media. Occasionally somebody might, but I didn't. So keep that in mind. And then also, before I decided to just take a break, I had decided long before that, to take all social media apps off my phone. So I guess you could say I deleted the social media apps off my phone. I had them all on there, and it just got to be too much. And I don't even have the YouTube Studio app on there now. I do have YouTube on there, but I took the YouTube Studio app off, and I don't have any of the apps on my phone. I took them off a long time ago because you know why? If they were there, I'd check it. And in fact, at some point, I remember, and this was when I was still a creative director at television, I remember sitting in a red light and pull up to the light and I grab my phone. There's some notifications on my email and there's this and this. And so I started turning notifications off because I thought, I don't need that. I just don't need that. So I didn't have any of that going. So what I decided to do is I would stop posting. One other thing I should mention too is that for the last several years, I would do something I call going dark, on just going dark. And I usually did it near the end of December. Families taking time off and we would travel most years. And I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to go dark. And for me, going dark meant no email, no social media, no posting, no creating. There were even some times I took gear with me and I thought, why? I need a break. I need a mental break, physical break, healthy break, whatever else is break, spiritual break. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I quit social media and see what happens? Just see what happens. So I remember my last post, I think it was November 29th. And I decided what I would do. I think I did it on Facebook. I think I did it on Instagram. Did I do it on Twitter, LinkedIn? I shared a verse. I think I did a graphic in some app, and I shared a verse thinking that if I never came back to social media, I wanted my last post to be something that pointed people to God. I also thought, well, and if my time's up and I leave this earth before I ever decide might to go back to social media, I'd rather that be my last post. So I did that. And then I logged off all the accounts, which pretty much are on my desktop that I'm using to record this video. I logged off all the accounts. So even though it wasn't on my phone, I would still get on the computer. And this is how much I was getting on it. So I would be editing in Final Cut Pro, and I would be exporting the video. And while the video was exporting, I'd just hop on Facebook and check some posts out. Well, I'm here. I might as well do Twitter. Well, I might as well check LinkedIn, even though I don't care for LinkedIn. And and what I realized is I was doing that. I also realized I was more addicted to social media than I thought. Now, I admit there's a great documentary. I'll try and remember the name. I think it's called The Social Dilemma, Social Experiment. It's not The Social Network. That's the movie about Facebook, which is good. But this was a Netflix documentary that they interviewed a lot of inside folks that work for a lot of these corporations. And it is chilling, the inside look at the algorithms they have to keep us addicted on there. So I just decided to take a break. There wasn't any, don't try and read anything into this. There wasn't anything that happened that pushed me over the edge and I'm going to quit. I just decided to take a break from social media, not knowing how long it would be when I came back. And I logged off, and I discovered very quickly that I had become addicted to it, to jumping on and checking and checking. And so there were days and probably several weeks where it was like, oh man, I wonder what's going on. Should I be checking this? I don't know. And over time, that diminished. And over time, I just stopped checking it more and more. Now, it's ironic, and I did a video on this. During this time, I also read the book Reconnected by Carlos Whitaker, which I cannot recommend enough. Now, his was more about screen addiction and how he just got off of that. I think it was for 7 weeks. Ironically, I was in the middle of this, if you want to call it like social media fast, while I'm reading that book. So I could relate to a lot of it. I wanted to message him going, dude, I'm in the middle of it. And, my goal was, well, while I'm not on, let me fill the void with other things. Let me read more. I didn't do that very well. Let me write more. I want to write more books. Let me do other things. And I'd love to say that all of those happened. They didn't, but there were other things I did. Like I focused even more on YouTube, my YouTube channel. And I took more breaks, and I just stopped scrolling and getting involved in conversations and following that I just didn't care anything about. Which is another thing that when I got on Facebook, I'll just talk about Facebook specifically. There was a time, tell me if you remember this, where you could not use your Facebook profile to really promote your businesses or services. You might could talk about them, but you couldn't really sell anything. That was reserved for your page. At some point, Facebook changed that. When they did, I think they really diminished the need for a Facebook page in my eyes. But what happened, I noticed is I was just inundated with people I knew and connected with that's all they did. It was just like talk about the webinar and this, and everything is crafted for engagement rather than just sharing. Not throwing shade on them, that's up to them. But I'm like, yeah, it's not why I'm connected with you, dude. So I got off and just went about my merry way. Now, if you're keeping score at home, I had around 60,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel because I know it comes up. Yeah, but how did it impact your YouTube channel? Remember, I wasn't promoting my YouTube channel anywhere. Anyway, I was talking about the journey. I was talking because my subscribers were and views were growing so fast. It was blowing my mind, and I would share updates. And I finally stopped doing that because it just felt odd. Not that odd to grow, but it was just like I was thinking people were like, not you again. but I thought, so anyway, so my YouTube channel was around 60,000 subscribers. And over time of growth, and this is typical, my channel grew, slowed down, grew, slowed down, spike, slow down. So that just happens in the lifeline of a channel. So if you're doing it and it's growing slow, just give it time. So I finally decided to come back to social media 6 months later. Now, part of what was driving that was the fact that it was my birthday, and I was connected with enough people that I knew would be wishing me birthday. It just sounds so arrogant, but they were. And so I thought, well, at least I could do is get on and just say thank you. And, I appreciate that. So I remember logging on first part of June. And well, actually, this is so funny because I had logged off on all the accounts. I couldn't remember my login information. I was like, wait a minute, what email did I use? What was my password? Why am I here? I don't know. And I couldn't remember it. So it took me a while to think, okay, what was my, Twitter? What was this? Because again, I had been for 6 months, I never got on. I would have people send me stuff that would link to it. And I would message them back, go, dude, I'm not on social media right now. I'm taking a break. And ironically, most people are like, man, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, well, why can't you? My business would crumble. I'll miss out on things and all these stuff we just keep telling ourselves. My world. So I got back on, and I had already been thinking about what I'm getting ready to share along the way and telling my wife what I was going to do. So I made the decision after I got on that one, I was not going to sit there and catch up on notifications. Period. I don't know. I can't remember the amount of friend requests I had on Facebook. And I don't think I accepted any of them. So if you were one of them, I'm sorry. Not sorry, but sorry. But what I decided to do was to delete my accounts on LinkedIn, Instagram, and my Facebook page. And when I say delete, I mean go in and delete, not deactivate, not pause, not put it on hiatus, not take a break, delete it. In all the years I was on LinkedIn, you know how many times I actually got work off that as a freelancer, if you will? Once. One time in all the years. Now, I did connect with some folks. One time. Here's the irony. It was an agency that reached out to me. They hired me to produce a video for them. It was a great project, and I did everything we were talking about. It took months to get paid, and I kept getting, there was always a reason and a reason and a reason. I finally, months and months and months later, they finally paid me, and then not long after that, they filed for bankruptcy and shut the doors. I mean, I hate that for them. I'm glad I got paid. But I've got a close friend that was doing voiceover work for them, and he never got all of his money. One job in all those years. Instagram, I always thought it was a hot mess. It's like the schizophrenic, network. We're photos. We're videos. No, we're photos and videos. No, we're vertical. No, we've got a vertical app. No, it's back. No, we're shopping. No, we're this. We're not going to do photos anymore. We're going to emphasize. It's like, my word, I don't need it. And I wasn't enjoying it. And I didn't want to play the game. I do believe if you're really going to go all in on social media, you need to learn those platforms. Every platform is different. And quite honestly, I just didn't care. I didn't care. I did not care. So I deleted Instagram. I deleted my account. I deleted my account on LinkedIn. And I deleted my Facebook page. I didn't announce it. I didn't even announce it when I would take a break. Attention to everyone I know. I'm taking a break from social media. I just took a break because I didn't know how long it was going to last. If somebody reached out to me, very few people did. There's the other thing that'll give you a big kick in the ego is that I had a few people reach out and I'd said, well, yeah, I'm taking a break from social media. Oh, well, I noticed you haven't been posting for a while. It's probably good I heard that, because we think everybody sees everything and they, and just everything we do, people are watching us, and people have lives. They should. So I deleted those accounts because I didn't care. I didn't need them. I didn't want them. And as long as they were there for me, I'd feel the pull to go back. And since the 1st of June, I've only been on. I did decide to keep Twitter and my Facebook profile because I have a bunch of connections on Facebook that I didn't want to lose. The reason I'm keeping Twitter, for at least for the foreseeable future, is because I have had some meaningful DMs in there with YouTube, with other creators that I don't know, and we would never probably have a reason for paths to cross, and brands and things like that. That's how I've been able to talk to folks, and they've talked to me. So I like that. But I decided just to keep those for now. I've only been on maybe a dozen times, if even that much. And even that, even on Facebook, it was posting about hitting 100,000 subscribers. I wanted to celebrate that on there, and some things about our youngest son who has special needs, and some anniversaries, and that's about it. What I quickly found is that the desire to go on and check and see how many people had liked something. The other thing that I realized, shamefully, I'll admit it, that I had been addicted to are the likes. And people, oh, they like the post. Oh, they like the post. Oh, they like the post. And then you start doing it for that as opposed to making impact, which I feel like is the greater good. And I just thought, I don't like going on it. I don't miss it. And here's what's sad. 6 months later, some of the people that just it seems like they do now is just sell and promote on there. And again, I'm not knocking anybody who runs a business, and I'm not knocking people who sell things. Your Facebook page, do what you want. But it just it's just like that's all they did. They're still doing it. It's the same thing. You can tell they're not sharing anything, writing something in a manipulative way, so you'll open it and read it and maybe get on their newsletter and stuff like that. And again, if that works for them, more power to them. It was just too much for me. So I took the break, and I didn't regret it at all. And in fact, I was saying this to my wife the other day. I said, you know what? I could possibly never go back on Facebook. I could actually delete my profile and I'd be okay. Being off social media for 6 months and then subsequently deleting some of those accounts has had no impact on my business. In fact, my business has been fine. And keep in mind, I'm a solo content creator. My business has been fine. My channel's grown. I continue to meet people. And ironically, I don't feel left out of anything. I just don't. I mean, we're inundated with news. If we want to find news, we can find news. So I wanted to share my experience of quitting social media, which eventually led to deleting some of the social media I was on. And I'm fine. And personally, I think it just kind of gave me a sense of breathing. It mentally, spiritually, everything. So what I would recommend is if you feel that addiction to it, then take a break. And maybe you have to say, like, I'm going to take a 30-day break, 60-day break, whatever it is. I just decided to take an indefinite break and went on. I may take another one. I don't know. I do plan on going dark every year at Christmas around the end of December because it just works. But I'm telling you, it is the absolute best thing I ever did, and I don't miss it at all. So love to hear your thoughts, your comments on it. But that's my story of quitting social media and living to tell the tale.